Hey everybody, welcome back to Songbirds Creations Crochet and More. My name is Margaret and I'd like to welcome you into the Songbird's Nest. I am offering you at this point the remainder of the tutorial for the Layers of Kindness poncho, sleeved poncho. At this point I have gotten my poncho to the point where I want to start adding sleeves. So for my size, because I am kind of a big girl, so I wear about a 2X. So what I've done, I said to stop at 5 layers. Once you reach 5 layers, what I want you to do is this. Try the poncho on and see if you're happy with the length of the poncho. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to back my camera up some so that you can see me. So right now the poncho reaches just about, the point of it reaches just right at my belly button. So that's a good length for me to start thinking about working in the sleeves. So I'm going to deal with that part next, showing you how to go about creating the sleeve part. We won't work the actual sleeves until the end of the poncho, but you do need to kind of bring your sides together to be able to work the rest of the poncho as far as your length, but also to have a base to start adding your sleeves to. So this is where we're at with it. I am at 6 layers down, so that is a total of 54 shells at this point. So let's go ahead and get started on part 2 of the tutorial. I'll be right back with you. Okay, at this point I am just finishing up with the 6th layer of my poncho, which puts me at 54 shells total so far. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and do the first row of the next layer, and then we will deal with the sleeve openings. So we're going to go ahead and not chain. We're going to slip stitch into the first and then the second. You'll want to slip stitch over into the second half double crochet. Then you want to chain 1, pull it up a little tight, and go ahead and work a single crochet there. And now, just like in each of the other netting rows, we are going to chain 4, skip 1 stitch, single crochet in the next half double, then skip 3 stitches, chain 4, skip 3, and single crochet into the next half double. Chain 4, skip 1 stitch. This yarn has these little yellowish fuzzies all throughout it. It's kind of weird. So chain 4, skip 1 stitch, single crochet into the next half double. And so for all the rest of the way around, is going to be just exactly like we've done so far for all of the other layers, where you chain 4, skip 1, chain 4, skip 3. I'm sorry, but my camera just does not want to cooperate today. So chain 4, skip 1, chain 4, skip 3. And just go ahead and continue working just exactly this way around the rest of this round. I am going to go ahead and work the rest of this round off camera, and then I'll pop back on, and in the next row I will show you how we're going to deal with our sleeve openings. I'll be right back. Okay, everybody, I finished up the first row of what will be my 7th layer of the poncho, and I've gone ahead and put markers where my sleeve opening will be worked. So I'm going to explain to you what will be the easiest way to put those markers. So when you finished, if you did a 6th layer, your 6th layer will have 54 shells in it. So what you'll want to do is go to the point of your poncho, which I've got marked here for this layer, and you'll want to count back to your 12th shell on this side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And in the loop that falls right on top of this shell, you'll want to place a marker. And then you'll want to count over 3 more. And in the next loop that falls on top of this shell, you'll want to place a marker. And you will want to do that on either side of your poncho. And that is where we will work our sleeve opening. So I am going to go ahead and continue with row 2 of this layer until I get back around to my markers for the sleeve opening, and we will work on that. So I will see you in just a moment. Okay, I've worked the row around until I've gotten to my 2nd set of markers for my sleeve opening. So what we are going to do is go ahead and chain 4 as usual, and single crochet into that marked space, and then we are going to work 16 chains. Okay, so we've got our 16 chains. Then we skip all of these spaces, come right over here to our 2nd marked spot, and go ahead and single crochet into that space. Then we just start working as usual with our chain 4 and single crochets into the spaces. and you will continue working this row as normal. And because this is the second row of the layer, this is also the row where you will do your increases with the big shell stitch. So you will want to make sure to work those increases as usual. The only thing that's changed about this particular row is putting in the single crochets. So at this point, I am going to go ahead and finish out the rest of this row off camera, and I will work the next row up to the point where I get to my first sleeve opening, and I will show you what we're doing there. So I will meet back up with you once I get to the sleeve opening on the next row. All right, so I've made it around to the end of row 2 of this section. So I'm going to go ahead and do my chain 1, pull it up tight, and turn my work just like usual. And we are going to start this row just as we normally do with our single crochet right in the same space. Chain 4, work our single in the next chain space, chain 4, and we are going to continue working just like normal until we get to the sleeve opening. So I'm going to work to that point off camera, and I will meet back up with you once I get to the sleeve opening. Okay, I have worked the third row of this section back around to where our sleeve opening is. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 4, and then you don't need to work into the chain, just work around the chain and go ahead and complete your single crochet after that chain 4. Then we are going to work another chain 4, single crochet around the chain, and we are going to complete 9 of these loops along this chain. So go ahead and continue to work your chain 4s and single crochets until you have 9 loops. This will be number 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now you'll probably have them all kind of bunched up. So what you'll want to do is just kind of spread them out evenly across your chain. Then you just go ahead and continue chaining 4, work into your very next chain 4 space, and continue as normal. With the rest of the round, working your chain 4s and single crochets. when you get done with this round, you should have, not counting the very center loop of your point, but starting after the center loop, if you count from point to point, you will have 60 loops on either side of your poncho, not counting these point loops. And that will be how many you'll need to work out to have 60 shells once we get done with this section. So go ahead and continue with the rest of your round. I am going to work the rest of this round and the next 2 rounds off camera because they're just worked the same as we normally do, with the chain 4s and single crochets into the chain spaces. So just go ahead and continue working the next rounds until we get up to the shell rounds. Well, in fact, shouldn't even need to come back at the shell rounds. I'm just going to go ahead and finish out working this section, and I am going to work one more section after this. So the poncho will be a total of 8 sections. So I am going to finish up with this section and the 8th section, and I will come back and meet up with you when I get to the shell round of the 8th section, because that is actually going to be our border round. So yeah, I'll meet back up with you after this section and up to the shell row of the 8th section, so, or 8th layer. So I will see you guys in just a bit. It'll be just a moment for you, but quite a while for me. So I will be back. Okay, here we are back around to the end of this row and starting our next row, which will be row 4 of this section. And we go ahead and do our single crochet in the space like normal, chain 4, single crochet, chain 4. So this basically is just a normal row like we always do, like we have done in every netting stitch section of the poncho so far. So just continue working your chain 4s and single crochets all the way around back to the beginning. You will work over the loops in your sleeve opening just the way that you have been doing all throughout. You'll just work your chain 4, your single crochet, chain 4, single, chain 4, single, you know, all the way across and on around, just like we have been normally. We will come back and deal with the big hole that we've got once we get the remaining sections of the poncho done. So I am going to go ahead and work this round off camera, and I will work round, actually I'm going to go ahead and finish out this section, since there really isn't any changes at this point. You're just working it the way that, you know, you've been working all the rest of the sections. So I will meet back up with you once we get ready to start a new section. So I will see you then. Okay, everybody, I have worked my way down through all the rows on the 8th layer of my poncho. And so right now this shell row is going to be the final row of the poncho. Now what you want to do when you do this row, you'll want to count back from the point of the poncho, which is right here. And you will want to make sure that you end up with this this loop here being a shell section. So what I do is I count back to where I finished my previous row and make sure that I start this one out so that this one will become a shell rather than a single crochet. Now on all the other layers we've done a single crochet at the point, but on this layer we want this one to be a shell. So I just go shell, single, 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 shell, and single. So you know that when you finish this row, you're going to do it with your double crochet and then chain one and do the single crochet in the same space. And then your very next space will be your shell stitch. And that will put your shell stitch into your center like you need it to be. So I am going to go ahead and continue working around on this last row, which is our shell border for the poncho. And I will meet back up with you once I get this done, because then we will be ready to start the sleeves. So I'll be back in a little bit. So everybody, I just wanted to show you I have come back around to the end of this last shell row, which is the border row of the poncho. And at this point, I have this much left of this ball of yarn. It is my 4th ball. And these balls are about almost 219 yards per ball. So this little bit will probably be enough to do my neck border, but I'm going to have to start a fresh ball to work the sleeves. So just to give you an idea of how much yarn I'm using on this. So I am going to go ahead and sew in my ends on this last row, and then I'm going to go ahead and jump up and work the neck border, and I will be right back with you. Okay, so here I am at my neckline. And what I'm doing is I am connecting my yarn into our beginning chain. You have that one loop that's left. So I'm connecting my yarn into that loop. And I am going to work half double crochet shell into this loop. So it'll be 5 half doubles. And then skip a stitch, work a single into the next stitch. Now if you're right-handed, because you see I'm left-handed, so I'm starting to the left side. If you're right-handed, you will probably be starting over here to the right side. But you want to start in this. If you're right-handed, you would start in this stitch to the right of your center of your neckline. Work your shell and then work your single crochet into that center stitch of the neckline. Because you'll be working the opposite direction of what I do. So then we are going to skip a stitch and work a half double shell into the next one. And you notice I had my tail from my original chain as well as my tail from this row. Actually, I'm going to take the tail from the border out of here. So I've got my tail from the original chain that I'm catching up underneath this border row. And that works perfectly because that will go ahead and hide that tail. So if you have not already hidden your tail, this is a good place to do it. So that's 3, 4, and 5. Skip a chain and work a single into that very next one. Skip a chain and work a half double shell. Skip a chain, work a single into the next one, skip one, work a half double shell into the next. Skip a chain, work a single into the next, skip a chain, half double shell into the next. Skip one, single into the next, skip one, shell into the next. And we are going to keep on working that way right around the neckline. You will want to make sure that at your point of your neckline where you have this big stitch here, you'll want to make sure that the chain, this right above it, what you work into this one is a single crochet. You don't want to work a shell into this one. So try and arrange your stitches so that your single crochet goes into that center stitch. And I will meet back up with you back at the beginning of this round. Okay, everybody, I went ahead and worked the first sleeve on this just so that you could get an idea of what it looks like and the placement of it. So here's your sleeve. I only did a short sleeve. It will be up to you if you want to work all the way to your wrist, but this one is a shorter sleeve. And then here is the bottom edge of the poncho. So this would be your underarm here. So I will go ahead and get the camera into position and show you just how we go about working the sleeve. I'll be right back with you. Okay, so here we are at the sleeve opening. When you take a look at your stitches on the sleeve opening, you want to make sure that you pick it up and are working from the inside. So you're going to be working the opposite direction of whatever this row of stitches is. So for me, I will be working from left to right. Obviously, if you're right-handed, you will be working right to left. So I am going to go ahead and get my yarn on my hook. And basically, we're going to be working this just the same as we have the entire poncho. So we will be working single crochets, chain 4, and just work as usual, single crochet and chain 4 around this opening. You will want to work a total of 18 of the chain 4 spaces because our sleeves are 9 shells around. Now, when we get over here to our spaces on the bottom, we want to go ahead and work in between. All right, come on, focus. Come on, camera, focus. All right, so we want to work in between each of the single crochets that we've already got there going in the opposite direction. So let me just check and make sure how many loops I've got now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 'Go back and look at something. Okay, I'm going to, because we want to work our chain spaces evenly across this, so that when we get back to here, we want to go ahead and do our regular double crochet into this stitch to finish off the last loop. So we want to have our spacing right across this row, this bottom part. And this yarn loves to grab. It does not like to frog at all. I'm going to shut off the camera and get this loose, and I will be right back with you. Okay, I got it frogged back so that I'm back to the beginning of this bottom part of our row. So what I'm going to do is put my first single crochet. So you'll see that we've got our shell loops from the top, and then we've got where we did our 16 chains. Instead of putting one before this single crochet, slide that single crochet over and put it in between the first two. So at that point we will be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we'll be halfway. So then let's chain 4, single crochet in that next space, 10, chain 4, single crochet in the next space. That should put us at 11. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and then we're going to skip where this last one is and go right on over to our first single crochet and work our double crochet in to join as usual. Chain 1, pull up a little tight, and turn our work. And we will start out as usual with a single crochet right in that same space. Chain 4, and do like we normally do, working chain 4s and single crochets into the chain 4 loops. Now, what you want to take a look at here is this is going to be the top side of our poncho right here that is coming down your shoulder. So you'll notice that we've got our first row here. This one that we just did is row 2. So we are actually working row 3 of our layers. So like here we've got 1, 2, and 3. We're working this row right here. So basically we only have 2 more rows and we'll be working another shell stitch and half double rows. So let's go ahead and finish out row 3. Whoops, got an extra wrap there. And here I am back to the beginning of this row. So we'll work into that first single crochet and do our double crochet, chain 1, pull up tight, and turn our work. So here we are on row 4. So as I said, this is basically working this the same as the whole rest of the poncho. So I am going to go ahead and complete row 4, this row, which is row 4, and row 5. And I'll meet back up with you when I get ready to start the shell row. Okay, so we've made it back around to where we're getting ready to join into our first single crochet of the row. And what we need to determine is where our shells are going to sit on this. So if we look back at this row of shells right here, we can see that this loop here is our shell loop. So let's go ahead and count forward. So this tells us shell, single. So shell, single. So that means when we finish this one on the next round, it will be a shell loop. So we will want to go ahead and finish this with the chain 4. Slip stitch into the top of this single crochet. And then slip stitch 1 stitch into this loop, chain, and work our first single crochet. And then we will work our shells and single crochets alternating around the row. And you should end up with a total of 9 shell stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this row off camera. And at this point, I'm just going to finish this section and then work another section below it and end that section with a row of shells, just like we did at the bottom of the poncho. So basically, I'm just working this section here. I'm right here on the shell row, and then we will work another layer below that and end with a row of shells alternating with singles. And that will end your poncho. So I am going to go ahead and work the rest of this sleeve off camera, and I will come back and finish up talking to you about the poncho once I've finished this second sleeve. So I will see you in a little bit. Okay, everybody, here we are. It is all finished. And just a moment and I will show you a picture of what it looks like on. I do want to show you just how much of this final ball of yarn that I had left. So this is the 5th ball of yarn, and I really did not use that much of it, but it made a slight dent in it. So my balls of yarn were almost 219 yards apiece. So 5 of those was, you know, over 1,000 yards, probably close to 1,100 and some odd. So yeah, I would say that this poncho will easily take between 1,000 and 1,200 yards of 3-weight yarn. And, you know, that also will depend on how long that you decide to make your sleeves and how long you end up making your poncho. You know, the yardages can vary by how you decide to make it. But at this point, that is the finished poncho. And give me just a few moments and I will come back and show you what it looks like with it on. So everybody, here it is. This is the finished product, and this is what it looks like with it on. I know probably this picture isn't the best. I will have my husband take a better picture a little closer up and post it in my community tab, but for now you can see that this is what it looks like. I hope that you have enjoyed working on this tutorial with me, and I hope that you will all try your hand at making this poncho. Like I said, it is very deceptively simple to make, but looks much harder than what it is. So thank you for spending your time with me, and I hope to have something new out for you very soon. This is again Margaret at Songbirds Creations Crochet and More. Come visit my nest as often as you like. Take care. I hope that you strive to be happy, put love out into the world, and go out and make something beautiful. Take care.